I'm just trying to visualize the best outcome. And I'm alone in my hospital room. And the minute I do that, I pop right out of my body. And then I look back at myself over my left shoulder, and I see myself in the hospital bed. And I start talking about myself and thinking of myself in third person. Oh, wow, she's in really bad shape. Look at that. But I was like, oh, I feel wonderful. No more pain, no more, desperation, no more being scared. I feel fantastic. And I could see this white light above me coming down from the ceiling of the hospital room. So it's like, I'm going up there. She's fine. The moment I get to the top of the escalator, there's this welcoming committee. So the same angels were there, and Archangel Michael was speaking again. And Michael says, you're going to need to choose quickly. It is absolutely your choice. But if you want to go back, I can tell you 3 things to help you make your decision. I just need to be grateful for this experience because it changes everything. Because to feel that unconditional love, it was just mind-blowing.
Hello and welcome to the channel Earth to the Other Side. My name is John Glasspool. I'm your host, and tonight I'm speaking with Wendy Williams. Wendy Williams is a past life energy healer and Reiki master, and she's had 2 NDEs, which we are going to speak about tonight. So here we go. Welcome to the channel, Wendy. Thank you for being here. It's so nice to have you.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, John. I'm really happy to be here.
My pleasure. Thank you. So we're going to go back and talk about your NDEs. This is while you were pregnant, if I'm not mistaken, right back in 1997?
Exactly. I was pregnant with my youngest daughter, and we were thrilled because there had been years of infertility and also 2 ectopic pregnancies. So it was a very wanted pregnancy. And we also had a toddler who was about 18 months old. I'd had just 1 visit to the OBGYN. Everything was looking great. I was only 10 weeks pregnant, so into that first trimester. But I was noticing 2 things didn't seem right to me. And I was having this terrific heartburn, which was very surprising to me so early in the pregnancy. So I'd called the doctor's office several times, and they said, well, every pregnancy is different, and take Mylanta, that's safe to take in pregnancy. So I did by the boatload, and it was not helping. And the second thing that was happening was I was having this recurring vivid dream. And I didn't know it was a precognitive dream because I didn't know what those were. So in the dream, it was always the same. It was this terrible storm at sea. And I would see all these winches and cleats. Everything was tearing off this big ship. The masts would all fall. The ship would break in 2 and it would go down. And I didn't realize that was very directly, my ship was about to go down, but I didn't understand what it was trying to tell me. And I was working at home, and I just could not get comfortable. I was the only one at home. My husband was at work with 1 car. Our nanny was at the park with our toddler with the other car. Could not get comfortable. So I try and lie down. I go in the bathroom. I'm like, what is wrong here? Just cannot focus. And all of a sudden, I have this feeling of impending doom, which I have never had in my life before or since. So I went into the bathroom thinking, I'm going to be sick. Something's really wrong here. And instead, I got this searing pain in my abdomen. It was so bad. I looked down because I really thought there was a knife stuck in me. And I felt like something burst, and I passed out on the floor. I was fortunate because I didn't get hurt falling because I was kind of crouching down going, I think I need to go for the toilet here because I felt so much pain and so weird. So I am completely passed out on the floor, and I came to only because there was this insistent male voice, and he kept saying, Wendy, you've got to wake up. You have to call for help now or you're going to go home. And I knew exactly what he meant. So I'm laying on my side, and I'm looking up, and it was the shock of my life, because the whole bathroom was lit up with this immense light, and there were 4 or 5 angels, and they were just huge. It's like they were like 8 or 9 feet tall, and there was so much light from them. It was incredible. And my mind was blown, because I was a casual Christian, but to me, angels were like a lovely theoretical possibility. I wasn't really sure that they existed. They're beautiful in art and on Christmas cards, and I wanted to believe, but this there was no arguing with. My bathroom was filled with angels. So I looked at him when he repeated that message, "You've got to call for help now." And I said, I can't walk. I don't know how to get to the phone. And his answer was very interesting. He said, "You just have to be willing to try." And I think that was implying free will. We've got to ask for help, because I did call out for help as I went down. And also, we've got to be willing to do our own work and put in effort, even when it feels impossible. So I got up on my hands and knees, was all I could manage. And once I did that, it's like I was gently picked up and flown the little bit of distance to get to the landline, because I'm in the master bath, and the landline is on the nightstand in the master bedroom. It's before cell phones were glued to our hands. So call for help meant get to a phone. And I did take 1 second to think, who should I be calling? The archangel, who I later recognized and learned was Archangel Michael, just had said call for help. So I didn't call 911, because he didn't say to do that. And I'd never called 911 in my life. If there was ever a time to call 911, that would have been it. But I called my husband, and that was reasonable because he worked 5 minutes from home. And miracles continued, because I actually got him on the phone at work. That has never happened before or since. And
Synchronicity.
I give him a lot of credit, because all I said was, "I need you to come home immediately. I need you to drive me to the hospital now. Can you do that?" And all he said was, "On my way." And I heard him throw the phone down. So I called my doctor's office at that point and told them what was happening. And they said, "Great, we're glad you're on your way to us immediately. And when you get here to the hospital," the OB office, thankfully, was right at the hospital. They said, "When you get here, we don't want you walking. Don't park. Just throw your car at the entrance, and we're going to be waiting for you curbside with a wheelchair." And they asked me 1 or 2 other questions, and it's like, "No, I'm not bleeding. This doesn't feel like a miscarriage. Never had one, but that's not my instinct." And I said, "The only other thing I can tell you is my abdomen is starting to distend hugely. I don't know what's going on." So I only had time to work my way down the stairs, and I looked at that full flight of stairs, because I was on the second floor, and I didn't trust myself to walk down the stairs. So I sat on the stairs, and like a little toddler, I like carefully bumped my way down the stairs to get to the front door. And I was just at the front door, and my husband helped me get in the car, because I was so doubled over in pain I couldn't really walk. So we get to the doctor's office, and they whisk me up to their office, straight into an ultrasound room. And the ultrasonographer, she's like trying to adjust the picture, and all I can see on the screen is black, which didn't make any sense to me. I'd had ultrasounds before. I mean, you're seeing organs, that's the whole point. So I asked her, I says, "Is your machine working? Is it on?" And all she said, she just touched my shoulder, and she said, "I'm going to go get the doctor now." So I'm looking at my husband, and I'm like, this is just going from bad to worse. I don't know what's happening. Doctor came in immediately. He's got a certified nurse midwife with him too. We've now got 5 people like squeezed in this tiny ultrasound room. And he tries adjusting. He looks at it. He looks at me. and says, you've got some major abdominal bleed going on. That's why we can't see anything on the ultrasound. That's all blood. So we're going to admit you on the floors right now. So they went and ran and got a stretcher at that point because they didn't even want me sitting up in the wheelchair, and got me flat on a stretcher and took me over to the hospital side of the building and admitted me into the OBGYN unit. So I'm transferred into the bed, and they're calling for blood. They're calling the Puget Sound Blood Bank, which is a central blood bank shared by multiple hospitals, so you're not wasting blood. And the nurse comes back and she looks not happy and says, I can't get any blood for her because there was evidently a major train collision 3 days ago and it used up all the A negative blood. So we don't have any blood for her. So we now have a whole room full of not happy people in my hospital room. And that also was, so they're discussing, do we do surgery right now? But we don't have blood. So we decide, wait and watch. And I can't get out of the bed. I have to just stay in the bed. And I am in so much pain. I'm just whipping through all the pain relievers they're trying, and I'm still writhing on the bed. So finally, I'm at the point where they had to put a morphine drip on me. While we're waiting for the blood. I'm like, but I'm pregnant. I don't want morphine. But we just did not have a choice. And they were able to get blood, but it was probably about a 6 or 8 hour delay until that happened. So that was what kicked it all off.
What caused the abdominal bleed?
We wouldn't find that out for a few days. We tried to do wait and watch. We're trying to see, will the bleeding resolve on its own? We're hoping it's like the gallbladder or the appendix or something that is not going to require surgery because I'm pregnant.
Right.
But I'm just going through bag after bag of blood so quickly. And of course, they're monitoring my hematocrit to see how I'm doing. And it was on the third day that the physician said, Wendy, we've got to do surgery. We've got no choice because you're officially bleeding out. And we can still see my abdomen's just getting bigger and bigger. I look like 6 months pregnant at this point, and I'm only 10 weeks pregnant. I don't even show.
Right.
So, and just based on the amount of blood that's being used, I know I'm walking between worlds because I'm having a lot of trouble staying conscious and just want to sleep, just want everyone to leave me alone. And I could feel myself giving up in a way I've never given up in my life. And, nurses and doctors would come in with critical questions and to talk with me, and I'd be falling asleep or passing out in the middle of the conversation. So it's like, this is not okay. Clearly, I've got significant blood loss going on here. So I agreed to the surgery and we scheduled it for the next morning. It was going to be my own OBGYN, which I was really happy about. And the hospital, I was very fortunate because it was my local hospital, but they were delivering about 5,000 babies a year. And the implications of that means you also see a lot of GYN complications and OB complications. So you've got an amazing infrastructure. And I knew my physician was a really great surgeon. So it's like, okay, we're going to go ahead with this. I'm not going to be transferred downtown into Seattle. Doesn't make any sense to me. And one of his partners, another OBGYN. So I'm trying to, now that I've made this decision, signed the paperwork, and I'm trying to relax that night after dinner. You get your dinner promptly at 4:00. You're in the hospital. And I'm trying to just relax and picture a positive outcome. I'm just trying to visualize the best outcome. And I'm alone in my hospital room. And the minute I do that, I pop right out of my body. The minute I visualize best outcome. And I was a little surprised at first. And then I look back at myself over my left shoulder and I see myself in the hospital bed, and I start talking about myself and thinking of myself in third person. It's like, oh my gosh, she's whiter than a ghost. Oh, wow, she's in really bad shape. Look at that. But I was like, oh, I feel wonderful. No more pain, no more, desperation, no more being scared. I feel fantastic. And I could see this white light above me coming down from the ceiling of the hospital room. So it's like, I'm going up there. She's fine. Again, I'm a little bit concerned. I'm so blasé about me, but I'm realizing I'm in pure soul form, and that's only a temporary housing. That's only an aspect of me. And right now, I'm just going to say she's safe in the bed and I'm going up because this light is compelling. So I start floating up to see what it is. It's almost like being magnetically drawn there. And I did pause for a second because I'm like, oh gosh, I hope I don't have to walk through one of those long tunnels. I didn't know a lot about NDEs at the time. This was 1997. But evidently that had gotten in pop culture enough that you go through a tunnel. The minute I thought that, as I'm like, I'm just too tired. I don't think I can walk through or float through a long tunnel. The minute I thought it, this beautiful escalator came in for me, and no one else is on it. It's pristine. There's so much light coming up from it. And I'm like, ugh. And I like just roll myself onto the escalator and go up and up and up. And I could feel like I was resting. And the moment I got to the top of this escalator, it went so far, and I could look back below me. I could see the hospital building. I could see the grounds. I could start to see the town. I'm like seeing from further and further up, but I don't really care. It's like, yeah, I'm oriented. I'm much more interested in what's above. I'm more interested in the light. The moment I get to the top of the escalator, there's this welcoming committee. So the same angels were there, and Archangel Michael was speaking again, but also there was soul family there. There was my soul group. All four of my grandparents were there, and I was so excited because they were so thrilled to see me, and they all give me this huge group hug and say, welcome home. We're so glad you're here. You've done nothing wrong, is what Michael said, and you are welcome to stay. So I'm like, oh, wow, that's amazing, because I can't wait to have more of a reunion, and I can't wait to see everything else, but I can't really see because they're crowded at the top of that escalator, and I later realized they were holding me back. So there's about 20 of them there, and Michael says, you're going to need to choose quickly. It is absolutely your choice. But if you want to go back, I can tell you 3 things to help you make your decision. Number 1, if you have the surgery tomorrow, it will be successful and you will fully recover your health. That's number 1. Number 2, your baby will be born healthy. So these are 2 huge things, and I'm feeling like, the weight of the world coming off me. And number 3 was the zinger. Number 3 was, if you go back, your life will be very difficult, likely for many years, because you are not on your life path. You are not living your purpose. What do you want to do? So, of course, I want more information. I'm horrified to hear I'm 36 years old. I'm horrified to hear I'm not doing the right thing. I'm not on my life path. I'm not living my purpose. So, of course, I asked him, I'm like, well, what am I supposed to be doing? What am I missing? What do I need to change? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. What should I be doing? And he just shook his head. And it wasn't unkind in any way, but there was no way he was going to share more information. So I look around at the others and I think, oh, come on, there's got to be a chatty Cathy in the group. Someone's got to give it up. So I'm looking around, I'm looking at my 4 grandparents, and they start being silly. And they're putting like duct tape over their mouths. They're like pretending they're like locking their mouth and they're throwing the key away. And I'm like, okay, I need to settle down. I'm not going to get any more information. I just need to be grateful for this experience because it changes everything. Because to feel that unconditional love, it was just mind blowing. As I said, it changed everything to feel that that support was available. And I want everybody to know it is available to all of us. It's part of the human condition to feel alone, abandoned, frustrated, overwhelmed. That's part of the human condition. Ask for help because guides and angels cannot help us without us asking because they consider it a free will violation. If we want to struggle through life, we can do that. That's a choice. They can intervene in emergency life or death situations, which was what happened for me. Plus, I do also remember calling out for help. So I think that's what got me that amazing response. And one of the coolest things about being up there with this soul family and soul group, as I mentioned, I saw all four grandparents. I knew my mom's parents, I knew my maternal grandparents well. I'd never met my paternal grandparents. My dad's parents, they died before I was born. So to be there and know that they were there for me and to recognize them, because everyone was just like this white beach ball of light, just as beautiful. Everyone looked exactly the same, except the angels were much bigger. I did see wings and they had more light coming off them, but all the soul family, the soul group members, they look exactly the same. But you just recognize the energy and it's just the telepathy. So they gave me, when I said, I want to go back, because the minute they asked me, all I could see was my toddler. I could see this gorgeous little girl. And it's like, I cannot leave her. And I'm going to have another baby and I'm going to be healthy. I'm going back. I will figure out the rest, even though it's predicted to be very difficult. I'm going back. I'm going to figure it out. So I told Michael that, and they all gave me one more of these amazing group hugs. That time I realized it wasn't just unconditional love. Not that that's not everything, but it was energy. And they gave me some sort of blessed, amazing healing energy because my gas tanks were so low. I'm not sure I would have survived the surgery. So I get this infusion and then they're like, okay, we believe in you. You decided to go back. That's awesome. And they like turn into cheerleader mode, put me back on the escalator. And I'm like looking over my shoulder, no regrets. And I just wave goodbye because I know I'll go back when the time is right. Go back down the escalator and I see my body and I just gently float back into my body. And it was just that easy to re-enter. And then I could finally, I just kind of put my hands on my heart and I was like, whew, I can take a breath that this is going to be okay. I may not know the details, but I now know this is going to be okay. So that's what happened.
What a wonderful, beautiful experience. It's incredible. I have so many questions. I want to get some of the fluffy ones out of the way.
Sure.
Like, for example, what did or how did you perceive Archangel Michael? Like, how did he appear to you?
He appeared to me both times, both in the bathroom at home and then at home, 8 to 9 feet tall, tremendously large. And tears were running down my face because of the amount of love and the uplift and the wisdom and just the unconditional love. It just was belief blowing, mind blowing. It just changed everything.
Beyond the light, did you see like a face?
I couldn't see fate. I couldn't see features. I couldn't see a face. I knew he was male. He just felt male. He felt so powerful, yet so gentle, just a funny word, so righteous. It felt like he kept the peace somehow. It felt like he would not hesitate to use his sort of truth where needed. And again, I didn't have a lot of background or religious beliefs. It's just kind of the way it was presenting to me. So I can't see a face. I can see the outline of the white. I can see like a head and like a neck and a body, and I can see and sense the wings, which were longer than the body. They were not standing on the ground. They were like floating, maybe a foot up, and just so free flowing. And that's how I could see the wings went down, even below where their feet would be. It was like they were in these big beautiful, like a white hooded cape, is maybe the best way I can describe it. So I cannot see features, I cannot see clothing. It's more like a big white silhouette of just this amazing, powerful love.
And in terms of your surroundings, like beyond the escalators, what were you seeing, or was it just pure
I
energy?
could see I could see fantastic amount of white light everywhere. I could sense that the space just went on forever and was beyond gorgeous. It was beyond human vocabulary, but
Mm.
I could not see very much. I was a little bit like being like a little kid. I was trying to like jump and like see over people's shoulders, but the angels were blocking it. And my sense was I couldn't go any further or I wouldn't be able to go back. So
Mhm.
they didn't want me thoughtlessly running forward too much. They wanted to have the conversation and have me make a deliberate choice.
Right.
I felt so honored by that because I've heard of so many NDEs where people feel like they were told, you got to go back, get back in there. You haven't done your job. You haven't lived your life. And they feel like they were unceremoniously pushed and didn't have a free will choice. I was given a very clear choice. I very much appreciated that.
And when you first left your body, like, and you're looking back at yourself, how much of you did you feel like? Do you know what I mean? When you were looking at yourself, like,
I felt disassociated with the body as soon as I pulled out of it. It was like I said, referring to myself in the third person. I knew that was Wendy Rose Williams,
mhm,
but I knew that was only one persona. It was like a small piece of me. And I knew just the blinding realization in that moment of, oh my gosh, I'm a soul. I'm so much more than that. And it doesn't matter what vocabulary you use, higher self, consciousness, whatever your belief system is in your vocabulary, that's all fine. We all use different words trying to wordsmith something that's very hard to communicate.
yeah. So how did the experience like change your religious beliefs?
It really took me out of the religious belief category into direct experience. It just took the middleman out of it in a lot of ways. I didn't really feel like I needed to go to church and have someone tell me
Mm.
what was going on, because it moved me out of the religious category into the spiritual category because I was having my own experiences. So, did I still attend church? Occasionally, yes, but I did it more for, just enjoying the special occasions and enjoying the feeling of community. My ears were pretty closed because, like I said, I was having my own own experiences in a different way.
You had such a beautiful, positive experience. So how long did it take you to start talking about it with others after it happened?
20 years. I
Really?
did not talk about it. I did not think that people would understand it or relate to it or believe it. There was no one in the hospital room with me. It was a very private experience. I tried to have a little bit of conversation with my husband, and he just wasn't there. He was very traumatized by everything that happened, I think more so than I was. And he even had difficulty visiting me in the hospital.
Mhm.
So
But you did
I
try to talk to
just
him about it though,
a little
a little bit?
bit, didn't really go very far.
No.
And I did not feel it was it was like I had to unpack it And I didn't really have the tools to do that. So I didn't understand it fully. And I still feel like there's these like beautiful layers that come from it. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Each time I share this story now, I feel like more information comes forward because I get good questions and then I have to figure it out. If it's something I haven't considered before.
Right.
So, and we moved pretty quickly into that tough period that the angels had talked about. So, should I recap that?
Yeah, why not? Let's do that. Yeah.
Okay. So, what happened was I go home. I'm in the hospital a few more days after the surgery. I go home. It's 6 weeks of bed rest. I was weak as a kitten because I was so low on blood and just really needed to recover from this major surgery and everything that had happened. And also, when you're pregnant, that's already taking a toll on the body. So I go back to work. Job I love. I've been there about 3 years, and everyone's very welcoming and so thrilled to see me. And Wendy, what happened? Well, there's just no way to explain this in the hallway conversation at work. It's just, so I said very little because it was just too big. It was just too big. And I was still figuring it all out. And as I said, I wasn't researching NDEs. I hadn't listened to other people's accounts. I hadn't read books about them. I did not know about INs. I wish I had known about the International Association of Near Death Studies,
Yeah.
because here I was in Seattle, the oldest chapter in the entire country, and just such an amazing resource. And I didn't know about it. What happens is I'm back at work and just, thrilled to be there, but still recovering my health, still not feeling fantastic. And what happens on a Friday afternoon, I get called into my boss's office. I don't think a thing about it. My boss is great. We have a great relationship. I think he just wants to say, have a great weekend and chat about the weekend. But the minute I walk into his office, I see his energy and he looks beyond dejected. And I see human resources rep sitting there with a file on the table. She looks as bad as him. I know what this is.
Mm.
It's the infamous Friday afternoon layoff. So I get laid off. I take it very hard. We very much depend on my lovely full-time income. I also hold the health insurance for the whole family, and I'm pregnant. And I'm also not in a very healthy state. This is not a great time to go job searching. So I, get my severance package. I file for unemployment. I've got great references, but I do not feel well. So I try interviewing, but it is not very, very effective. I do not find a job, and I realize I'm just going to need to bite the bullet at this point and wait until after the baby's born. And this was in November of 97, and we did not realize at that time what a deep recession was starting. 1 week to the day after my layoff and we lose our health insurance, my husband comes home from work a couple hours late, had not called. This is very odd. He looks like the weight of the world is on his shoulders and says, Wendy, because I saw him when he came in. I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? Are you okay? And he said, sit down. We need to talk. I need to tell you something really difficult. So he was one of 5 owners in a successful software company. They had about 100 employees, and they had tanked frighteningly quickly. They had that day done a huge layoff of essentially everyone in the company, except the 5 owners, who are now scrambling, trying to tie up loose ends. Can we sell the company? How do we fulfill these contracts? Because we've got some contracts we need to do programming on and finish things. And how do we wrap up our lease? I mean, there were just a million. I'm like, how did this happen so fast? I had no idea. And so I'm trying to, reassure him, because it really hurts, especially when it's your own company. That's like your baby.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to, be cognizant of that and, give him some empathy for that, and said, we'll take a breath, take the weekend, get your head straight, and then go file for unemployment on Monday and we'll figure it out. We're smart people. We'll figure it out. So then comes the next news. Wendy, I don't qualify for unemployment. I'm self-employed. And I had never been self-employed at that time. So I didn't know that. So I'm now, my jaw's on the floor. I'm like, wait a minute. And the hits keep on coming when he lets me know he's gone to payless paydays. And I'm looking at him like, payless paydays does not compute. What are you saying? Use different words. I don't get it. And he's explaining, I'm going to be at work 80 hours a week or more because of everything that's going on that I just described to you. I will not be getting paid. I will not be getting unemployment. And at this point, I'm begging him, well, then you've got to look for another job. This is not okay. We can't keep our ship afloat back to that dream. We cannot keep our ship afloat like this. We were heavily mortgaged. We had just purchased a larger home because we're expecting the second child. We had just purchased a minivan. We've got a full-time nanny on contract. We do not have wiggle room for this. And he just says no. So we're starting to diverge in our opinion of how to live life. And I'm also realizing that he's making some, what to me felt like very independent decisions. So I'm not happy. And this is just the situation we're in. And I thought, gosh, those angels had it right. They said life is going to get very difficult if you go back. So I'm in the position where he's managing everything at work. He's like, I need you to manage everything at home, figure it out, negotiate with the home lender, negotiate with the car lender, tighten our belt, use our savings better, max our credit cards, do Wendy, figure it out. I'm like, yeah, I get it. So I'm trying to do that, which is very stressful. While still not feeling well, I'm still very worried, even though I was told you're going to have a healthy baby. It's hard not to worry when you've had morphine, surgery on your uterus. I did not tell you what they found had actually happened was my uterus ruptured. It was the top of the uterus, what's called the fundus. Well, I've had uterine surgery and they don't know if it's going to hold because of course your pregnancy is going to be growing and it puts so much pressure. And that was the exact organ that was operated on. So the fundus had burst and it's an aorta. They estimated I lost 3/4 of my blood supply that week. So that's what had been going on. So I'm doing the best I can. And evidently I was naive. I call the bank and think I can explain what's going on. We're actively job searching. We're professionals. We both have MBA degrees. Well, the bank could not have cared less. They did not enjoy my story. And what they said was, no, we will not let you skip a payment. We will not let you make a partial payment. We don't have that plan. Too bad for you. And what they said was, we've actually flagged your account now. And as soon as you fall behind, we will be foreclosing. So thanks for letting us know.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So much for being truthful. Same thing happened with the car lender, and they said that they would be repossessing as soon as they could. So I'm like, wow. So I'm trying everything. He's trying everything. But like I said, the country was going into a very deep depression, recession. Okay, here's the joke. It's a recession when your neighbor's out of work. It's a depression when you're out of work. We're both out of work.
Exactly.
No health insurance, not finding any wiggle room or grace. So we were very fortunate. We could not borrow more money. We were very fortunate. We were saved by Bank of Mom. And I will forever be grateful to my mother because she stepped to the plate, and it must have been scary for her. And she made some real sacrifices because we didn't know how much, we didn't know how long. So we just kept writing a monthly note of whatever we had needed to borrow that month to keep our ship afloat. And this went on from November until March. So our daughter was born healthy on Friday, March 13th, which I thought was wonderfully amusing.
Yeah.
And one of 13 babies born in the hospital that day. And our astrology must have changed. Planetary astrology must have changed because she's born healthy. And my husband went back to work the Monday after her birth. They were able finally to sell the company and they were absorbed into the new company.
Ah,
And all five of them, all five of the partners went there.
okay.
So now I'm home with this brand new newborn. I fortunately, again, Michael helped me get health insurance. Who would believe angels can do these amazing down to earth things? What happened was I was sitting in the pediatrician's office, just trying to keep my daughter busy, waiting for the visit. And I'm pretty far along in the pregnancy. And I hear him clearly say, look, look. And I'm like looking at my daughter, is she okay? Are the other kids okay? You make sure nobody's falling and bumping their head or something. And I realized he was talking about, there was this little side table over in the corner with a lamp on it. And I'm like, oh, he wants me to look at that. And it had this little pamphlet in it that said WIC. I had no idea what WIC was. It's women, infants, and children. And it's a type of Medicaid assistance because we had not qualified for anything else because we owned a home. So we could not get health insurance for us. And I really needed it because I knew what that hospital delivery rate was going to be. So, as well as you obviously need to be taking care of yourself during the pregnancy. So I pick up this brochure and like shove it in the diaper bag. It's like, I'll read this when I get home. But that was the answer. And I qualified and got health insurance.
Awesome.
That would pay for the stay. As well as we qualified for what would be, it's like the old food stamp program, and you're given a voucher and you can get specific healthy foods. So it really helped because it stretched our grocery money a lot further that I could get, these basic cereals and cheese and milk and, just different things. So again, and I didn't realize it was my clairaudience was opening, and I have I'm blessed with an amazing ability to hear spirit, hear my higher self, hear my guides very, very well. But I didn't know at the time, that's why I was hearing these beautiful, helpful voices. I didn't have any concern. I knew it was loving. I knew it was helpful. I didn't have any concern. Oh, I'm hearing voices. People can get scared. It was at a mental illness thing. And the differentiator is it was loving and helpful.
Now, I was just wondering if that's only started happening post near-death experience, right? These cognizance.
In hindsight, it definitely opened it. In hindsight, I realized some people just feel it as their intuition. Yeah. And I, like many, had like the imaginary childhood friends, particularly as an only child. My brother had passed on, so particularly as an only, there tends to be some imaginary friends. I think those imaginary friends are not imaginary at all. I think they're guides, and we're just able to perceive them when we're young. Because we haven't been conditioned that, oh, that's not real, and what are you talking about, and don't talk about that at school, honey. The kids won't like you, the kids will make fun of you. That sort of conditioning.
You're also, as a kid, you're closer to the veil, so to speak.
Yes, memories are fresh.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So I think for me, it had been there my whole life, but I earned my MBA degree by the time I was 22. Wow. So I was embracing the left brain, and if you can't fit it in a spreadsheet, it's not real. type of life. I just did not have a spiritual belief system or background.
Were you doing any of you weren't doing any of the healing that you do now before your MBA,
Absolutely
right?
not. I was 36, and when I get home from the hospital, I was approved for those dreadful drive-through deliveries. You get 24 hours, including labor, which is very, very short. So I'm home the next day and so thrilled to be holding this healthy baby, and that, we're through this. My relief and gratitude is just off the charts. But I'm still spinning. I'm still trying to catch my breath from having just delivered and being home. and from that short stay. And I'm looking down at her and by myself, and I heard Michael say, clear as day, it's like he was standing 6 inches from me, say, your contract with your husband is complete. I almost dropped the baby. I was like, what the actual heck? And then I'm clarifying, I'm like, what do you mean by that? I knew what he meant. He meant the marriage was over. And I'm like, well, what kind of timing is this?
Mm.
I later, years later, found my soul contract with my former husband, which was to have a long term marriage that we would both grow from considerably and to have beautiful children together. And I could see the REN in children like underlined.
Yeah.
Well, the plural, there she is, number two, children.
Yeah.
I'm just like shaking my head at Michael, like, no, I don't care that the contract is over. I have a 2-year-old and an infant, and we married and committed to each other. I just don't want to know what you're talking about. So I really tried to shove it away.
Your stories, your experiences are like, wow. I mean, unbelievable. I'm sure this is going to help so many people. I really appreciate you and taking the time. And you also divulged a lot of personal stuff. And I really appreciate, your willingness to do that. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.